Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coping with Donald, or welcome to Coping with Donald. It's about 1:30 on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, and the stock market again is falling today, although it's clawed back a bit more than half of what it was down before. At this hour. I want to remind people that the stock market's supposed to look 6 months ahead. I also want to remind people that we're only down 7% off the high in the S&P, which was in early February. Although 7% in 1 month is a lot, yes. But it's not 10%, which denotes a correction in the stock market. It's not 20%, which denotes a bear market. And it's certainly not the 40, 50% that we got in both the 2008 financial crisis and the COVID scare. I think the NASDAQ in the dot-com bubble burst in the early 2000s, I think the NASDAQ went down something like 75%. Just think of that. This is 7%, and I know it hurts. I was researching some stocks last night, stocks with higher dividends. And the reason why their dividends, percentage-wise, are higher is because they've fallen the most of all stocks. They've fallen a lot. Many of them fell 25 to 40% in 3 months. This goes back to the Biden time, early November. So in 4 months, a lot of these stocks have fallen 30%. So now their dividends are showing at 6.5%, 6.8%, 6.2%. But you have to remember that if we do slip economy-wise, those stocks will probably cut their dividends, which will also cut their price more. Okay, the stock market looks 6 months ahead. So in February, early February, the stock market said that in August, we should have a great stock economy. Now they're saying in September, we're not going to have such a great economy. The Atlanta Federal Reserve projects a 2.5% loss of economic activity in this quarter, 2 quarters in a row, and you are in a recession, officially. The difference between what the stock market thought in January and the stock market thought in February, early February to early March, has to be the tariffs and the threat of tariffs. I think that's more than anything else. If Trump lets up on the tariffs, I think you would see the stock market do pretty well. But they are officially enacted today. Larry Kudlow, on his show on Fox News, called it the Biden crash. It's not the Biden crash. The stock market looks out 6 months. They are predicting a Trump crash because they weren't predicting it a month ago when Trump was already president. In fact, the Wall Street Journal said Trump's inheriting a great economy and could have 4% growth. President Trump, and it was Larry Kudlow was saying that over a sign, a Fox News sign that said, Trump racks up more wins for Americans. I think he was talking about Taiwan Semiconductor opening or investing money into the United States, which of course is a win, but it doesn't feel like it right now for Americans. Trump got on Truth Social and said we should spend less time worrying about Putin. And you would expect him to say that. He also said we should spend more time worrying about migrant rape gangs, drug lords, murderers, and people coming from mental institutions. Man, I wish he would let that go. Really. Okay? Especially people from mental institutions. God almighty. He says, otherwise we will wind up like Europe. I have a question about the new gold card immigration plan, which basically allows you in for $5 million. I bet you there's a lot of drug lords in Mexico who have $5 million. Is Trump going to turn that money down? What do you think? Comment below. Hit the like button. Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture, was basically, I don't think this is the only policy they have, okay? But she was telling people on an interview today or yesterday to tell people to get a chicken, then you'll have eggs. I think I'll run that by my condo association. See what they say. All right. And Donald Trump has... do you like national parks? I never use national parks. I don't hike. I don't walk trails. I think that would be a nice thing to do. Maybe I should think about it, actually. But President Trump on national parks, I mean, I know a lot of people love parks. They love nature. They love the wilderness. So, get ready for parks without trees. I think it's because we need timber to replace the timber we're not going to get from Canada now. But President Trump has put into motion plans to look into cutting down trees in our national parks for timber. And I guess without any forest rangers, because he's hell-bent on firing them, there's nobody to stop them. And I would suppose he's not going to have park rangers do this. It will be a private company, of course. He also endorsed a crypto reserve, meaning the United States would invest in crypto as a reserve currency and hold on to it. This just seems to be some sort of price manipulation scheme where the people who own certain crypto will advise Trump to buy a bunch of it and then dump their part. It's certainly, if not intended to be that, has the potential of being that, and dump their part, and that would leave the United States, aka the taxpayers, holding the bag on all the losses of the cryptocurrency. But he is the president. He has a crypto czar? I didn't even know this, but there are some crypto bros that have owned what Trump endorsed through a company called Bitwise. They are on the news, or on their pods, praising Donald Trump. Sure, they're praising him. They're going to get rich. Best president ever, they said. And two final notes as we get to the 10-minute mark. Two quick final notes. Just things that I was thinking about the other day. I keep seeing things now on commercials about Florida farmers working so hard. I live in Florida. And they use something called glyphosate for their crops. And unfortunately, glyphosate was also used in the weed killer Roundup. So they're spraying your crops with this. And they want more freedom to spray crops with this. Oh, don't make it tough on Florida's farmers. Make sure we can use more glyphosate. Glyphosate is found in heavy concentrations in Honey Nut Cheerios and some Nature Valley products like those almond bars, breakfast snacks that you're supposed to eat, I guess, to replace a meal and to keep weeds from growing in your body. Also, another thought I had was, I was thinking about people who smoke a pack a day. Cigarettes are so high now. Many of these people pay more for their cigarettes in a year than they do for federal taxes. Just think about that. They pay more for their cigarettes in a year than they pay in federal taxes. Just something to think about when they complain about their federal taxes. This has been Coping with Donald, and boy, is there a lot to cope with. I'm Phil, and I hope you have a good rest of the day, and let's hope for the stock market to come back. Have a good one.